Cougar 29 RDB with a private rear bunkhouse here at Haylett RV of Coldwater, Michigan. Compared to previous generation, there's only one visible difference on these really, and that is the addition of those hyper popular and super stable MORryde steps that you have on there. But they've also made one significant change that I really wanted to make sure I highlighted, so I said, you know what? Even though just the MORryde steps is a small thing and I could have shot an update video, I want to do the full Monty here, because all Cougars, not just Big Cougar, but even these models right here in their smaller fifth wheel segment are now 0 to 100 degree rated. Even the Cougar travel trailers that you see peeking in the backdrop back there. And if it says Cougar, it is now 0 degree rated, and that is awesome. A quick look here with travel mode engaged. You will lose access to the bunks, but that is it. Other than that, you can slip around that countertop over top of the dinette there, get to the fridge, get to the pantry, get to the storage, the bathroom, and the main bedroom for some pretty decent travel functionality. If you do need to stop for an overnight stay, you will have to put the slide out, which we're going to do right about now. Now, there have been a few cosmetic updates. Like, this is still the twig decor, but they've kind of changed the way that the cushions look a bit. And I always try to get people the most accurate information, so even though it's minor, I said, okay, we're going to go out here, we're going to full film this whole thing. Now, previously we had been bringing this in with a hide-a-bed, but we had a lot of requests for theater seating in this model, and I think it makes sense, because if you look, the theater seating is really set up directly across from this huge, like 4K, massive size TV for easy viewing. It's nerdism number 37 I like to refer to as the no neck wrecker. Also, all the way around that slide, they give us maximum size windows here, all of which will open for airflow. Another neat thing they do within the slide out here is they have touch sensitive lighting, and a lot of it. And you can control and dim the lights right here within the slide, and they actually have positional memory, so if you want to leave them down, you can. Where that's really cool is this RV has in command, which means all of your main cabin lights and everything you can control right off your phone. So if you're sitting in your cool little like cinema seating setup right here, you can turn off the main cabin lights, you can dim the lights in the slide out. You don't have to get up, you don't have to march around. It's convenient, it's easy, it's fun. And isn't that what camping's supposed to be? I think that these guys are onto something, by George. Over in this vicinity, one thing I do like to take a look at is the fact that you do have in this rear bunk area a sliding privacy wall. And that's where the 29 RDB has really varied from its predecessor, the 28 RDB, because you can just close that if you want to. Now, you have a couple steps right here, because underneath all of this, there's a huge outside storage compartment. So that's one of those things where instead of having just absurdly tall bunks, which is just a big waste of negative space, they opened it up so that you can actually do something with it outside where it's at, like waist level, not at, way over your head. You want to add a TV for the kiddos? Go ahead. You're all set here, and you've got dedicated storage for the kiddos as well. And, just keep their stuff from kind of bleeding through the rest of the RV. Pretty common double over double bunk situation back here. Each bunk's going to have its own light. Each bunk has its own airflow window as well. And each bunk is rated for 300 pounds per sleeping space. So overall, I think that has been very nicely executed. So we've got good sleeping capacity. We have easy viewing entertainment, which a lot of bunkhouses have a crappy entertainment center. But what do we have in terms of storage? Well, it just so happens, this also has a tremendous amount of storage capacity. In what I like to call the pantrytainment center, you have an immense amount of storage capacity. And it's one of the coolest aspects of this floor plan is the way that the living room and the kitchen, instead of fighting one another, they work together. Because as big as the entertainment center is, that's how much storage you have in it. And notice the extra shelf they put behind the TV. Where the TV acts like a door to that storage area, it's very easy to get in here and access every square inch of it. Another cool factor when the TV swings out like this is it's very easy to get to those hookups if you want to expand your entertainment desires. There are a lot of RVs where the stereo has like an HDMI input, but Cougar didn't need to spend more money on a fancy stereo when a normal stereo and DVD player with Bluetooth will work when they have HDMI and powering USB plugs already built into the TV. And now, what's nice is since they're not sticking out from the stereo, they don't run the risk of a kid walking by or you dropping something and breaking them. Isn't that smart? Now down here, you notice how there's a plug back here. There's like a little power receptacle. First of all, right now, what we're just enjoying is just a huge amount of storage. If you want to add like an electric space heating fireplace, that's actually where that would go. But what's kind of cool is it's an extremely easy thing to add after the fact. Like if you just go to IKEA and get one of those surface-mounted fireplaces, you know, you can remove those doors, mount it on the face, and plug it right in. But you know, there's a really fine line. What do? Do you include a fireplace for the looks and the electric heating, or do you include the storage? So what we do is we split the difference. Typically here at Haylett RV, we will include more storage with our Cougars, whereas in the Eagle version of this, called the 29.5 BHDS, very similar model number, I think these guys, you know, might be aware of one another's existence, we will tend to put the fireplace in the Eagles. So we try to give you the best of both worlds. They're just not always called Cougar. There's more than one way to do things, and that gives, you know, a little more flexibility to things you'll find out here. Larger 8 cubic foot refrigerator or freezer for that extra storage capacity, as well as, remember, you have an outside fridge for even more cold storage. That newer Furrion stove with the night light knobs, and when you kick those on, you also see right inside that clear glass window, so it's easier to get in here. Big space for a wastebasket below, and they didn't waste an opportunity for drawers. Not only do you have multiple drawers right here next to the sink, but you've got huge drawers to get under the remainder of that peninsula countertop on the other side. Speaking of which, we've got a sealed edge press membrane counter right here, which is going to be highly water resistant compared to a T-molded, and overlooking the stainless sink with sprayer faucet there is that big kitchen breeze window, which looks straight out of your campsite. When you're sitting on the dining table, you can kind of get a peek at what the kids are doing, or especially if you're standing at the sink. Now, it does come with dual sink covers, but to show you kind of how big the overhead cabinet was, I put one of them in here lengthwise to demonstrate how big this cabinet is. So even with that sink cover in there, it closes unobstructed. And then, just to make sure we didn't waste an ounce of space, I went ahead and pulled the cushions off that dinette, so you got to see all the gusseting and structure and storage below the dinette bench, which is something that the freestanding table and chairs is not going to be able to offer naturally. Now, speaking of sleeping, as if the bunks weren't enough space, if you need it, what you'll find is you always have some fold-down bonus sleeper seating in a Cougar RV. And I specifically wanted to demonstrate it in this arrangement with the you know, cinema seating directly across from that big HD TV right here. Because I don't think a lot of people realize that that is still a legitimate double sleeper, especially for little kids. And it's probably better for little kids because they have their own little individual space, and as opposed to, you know, little kids tend to have very active legs when they sleep. I think anyone who's been kicked to death by their kid in bed will, you know, while kind of cuddling with them or a little bit, totally understands what I mean by that. Of course, there's always the high-to-bed availability, too. So we've seen the storage, we've seen the sleeping the living room and kitchen have to offer. Let's pass this handy little entry area coat rack and head upstairs, but real quick, I do want to mention this. A lot of people get confused by that. This is a thermostat probe. That is there so that since In Command controls your heating and cooling, which means you control your heating and cooling off your phone, by the way. One of my recent fire, campfires right there. Man, that was a good night. Anyway, sorry, I'm just waxing poetically over a campfire that no longer exists. Your phone controls your heating and cooling, so no matter where you're sitting or sleeping, if you wake up at night, if you're not comfortable, no sweat. Now watch this light right here. As I come around the corner, boom. As soon as it picks up any motion, that'll kick right on for you, which is very nice if you've been gone for a little while. You don't want a bright light inside the camper that is going to cause these windows to be bright and glow, which will attract bugs, and then you're eating a face full of gnats and letting them in the camper every time you come back. Speaking of In Command, this is going to be your centralized control panel right here. If you're not familiar with it, it can control your lights, easy access to your water heater, your tank monitors right here. But more than that, as I just alluded to, or rather stated pretty, specifically, you can control your heating and cooling, your lights, your slides, your awnings, all right here. Now, this is something first introduced by Montana, but this has I sort of just call it the melts in your mouth, not in your hand bath door. And it doesn't matter if we're coming upstairs like I just did, or if you're going from the bedroom to the bathroom. You can always get to this bathroom simply and easily. Great linen space beside the shower there. We've got a porcelain foot flush stool with all kinds of legroom, and that porcelain stool does sit a little higher, which is nice. Now, the shower's easy entry. On the upper deck of a fifth wheel, they can recess the shower plumbing, and you can't do that due to RV plumbing code in the floor of a travel trailer. So that's one of the differences here. So, you know, the floor decking is the same height as the shower decking, which means, like if you take a look at me, if I step inside here, this is how tall the shower's going to be. Plenty of headroom in here, even for a taller person like me. Now, we do have the seat in the shower for user convenience, maybe safety. And just like in the kitchen, all of the countertops are going to be a sealed edge pressed membrane, and they put a real big sink in there to really, you know, give adults a good sized place for your hands instead of the little kid sink splashing around. And an oversized medicine cabinet keeps the countertop clutter down to a minimum. One of the things I like talking about in all the Keystones is how they have thicker door frames. They fully frame out and stud out every door, which is awesome. And I think that's one of the reasons they have such good structural records here. These are 50 amp. You have the ability to add a second air conditioner. We can do that here at the facility. They're 50 amp standard. You have a 15,000 BTU air normally. We really thought about adding the second air conditioners. However, since Cougar recently upped the ante on their thermal package, not only does it give them newfound 0-degree functionality here in this fifth wheel segment, it also has significantly improved their hot camping capacity. So I think that that's one of the areas that we're going to see an improvement here is the temperature of the bedroom. Now, right here, Cougar recently revised their upper decks in their smaller fifth wheel segment. Instead of that old 9-inch ankle breaker of a drop, you've got like a 2.5, maybe 3-inch little nudge right there. Not enough that I think it's really offensive and annoying like it used to be. 60 by 80 true queen bed right here with the dual side stands with outlets by the headboard, so supremely CPAP friendly. And look at the just intelligent attention to detail right here with the radius corners on these overhead cabinets, which let me pop one of these open and take a look. So these are not hanging storage. You'll find that in the slide out. We'll open that up in just a moment. But real quick, I did want to take a second to look at this huge window over here, letting in a flood of light. Plus we have the skylight above, or, you know, you can kill that for the place of the second air conditioner. But another thing In Command does is it allows for easier inclusion of extra light switches throughout the RV. Plus you have a second thermostat sensor probe up here. So if either the living room or the bedroom fall below your desired temperature, the air will kick on. And that's a problem that a lot of RVs will suffer from, is that only the living room is climate controlled, not the bedroom. And then again, remember, all you have to do with In Command is grab your phone and adjust the temperature, even in the middle of the night if you wake up uncomfortable. Isn't that awesome? Quick lift to the bed, made very simple thanks to these gas struts right here. Reveals the full storage below the bed. Now, of course, as I mentioned, we've got these side stands over here for, you know, easy like CPAP use. Those extra cabinets right here for basically more dresser space. So instead of a hanging closet that's kind of a funky shape, they basically just give you a full overhead dresser. But then over here, in that closet slide that we were talking about earlier, you've got those mirror doors to keep all the light reflected around in here. If I kind of just pan around, you can see what I'm referring to. But this whole thing is hanging storage. So this RV has more hanging storage than those two closets would offer. But in a late season update in the previous generation, they included more dresser drawers below, because they already had enough height to make it a functional hanging closet, but they were really lacking in drawer space, so they bulked up on that. And then, if you feel like adding a TV, we're all set and ready to do so. Again, compared to the previous generation, inside and outside, visibly, the Cougar fifth wheels don't look much different, but you can very easily tell which generation you're looking at if that does or does not have the step above system here. So this is, at the time of this filming, the new current generation. I love these things. They've become so popular, and for good reason. There's just virtually no downside to them. They're not flawless. The one, I'll be fair. I always try to be fair, guys. So what is really the one hiccup with these? The one hiccup is that if you are, if your RV is parked in like a storage facility where the campers are parked super close because they're trying to squeak every ounce of money they can out of that thing, which is fine. I respect that. Well, then these steps are a little tricky because you have to kind of climb over them to get in. So you need to sort of plan accordingly for that. Short of that, there's really no downside. Some people will say, yeah, but you flip the dirt off the steps into the camper. I'm sorry, but if you're not brooming off your steps real quick before you close your camper up and head down the road, I guess that's on you and not on Cougar. That's just my 2 cents. I don't know. I know that we do it. If any of you saw my recent camping video where my family went out, I broomed off the steps before I put them away, and my boss is Montana. You know, it wasn't real difficult. The adjustable foot pegs, working like a charm right now. We actually have this one set a little longer than that one to give you easy come and go. Now, when I mentioned they got rid of the bulk of that big step up in the bedroom area, that happened kind of accidentally, because what they were doing is they were actually expanding their pass-through storage, and basically just the way it worked out, they gave you more pass-through storage, almost the size of Big Cougar here in Small Cougar, and they almost got rid of the step up entirely. I think they did as much as you possibly can. Now, part of the 0 degree functionality that was added to all Cougar RVs are heated holding tanks, and right here is your switches. You can, and they're clearly labeled. I like that fresh gray black. You can see exactly what you're doing. Simple outside TV hookups right here. In command, I've talked about it a bunch inside, and I've done a separate video on in command, and this video is already long-winded enough for a very minor update. But important update. The one thing I do want to kind of use this to point out, if you're not familiar with it, is that Keystone was the first towable RV manufacturer to color code all their wiring. And not only is In Command a superior wiring system with better service records, but it's easier to get to the wires, God forbid you need it, which to my knowledge, we have not needed to mess with anything with In Command. It's doing the job. Motion sense lighting like we saw in the entry area here in the pass-through. I just have the power killed currently. Double magnet holdbacks and double compression latches on these fifth wheels make getting in and out of that storage simple and easy. We have a very easy 2-finger tilt awning, and I like that they actually mounted the awning arms low enough on the smaller Cougar fifth wheels where you can actually get to them to tilt the awning for rainy day use. Another thing that's cool, no slides on the door side of this RV. So it's not eating up your camp space. You get the maximum amount of potential patio and campsite space available. Keystone owns their own paint shop. It actually used to be a Newmar diesel pusher shop where Newmar did all their full body paint. Keystone said, yeah, we'll buy that. That's ours now. We're huge. As the #1 producer of laminated RVs on the planet, Keystone kind of had the resources to pull a move like that. So what's cool is it's one of the things, like the nose paint on this Cougar is included in their 3-year comprehensive structural warranty. They have the most comprehensive 3-year structural warranty of anything on the market, which is nice. They cover more things because they do more things in-house. Power front leveling jacks, there is the option to upgrade these to power full leveling, auto leveling. We just don't see people tend to do that much. Howdy folks, welcome. So we'll tend to find these most of the time with power front leveling jacks and then push button rear stabilizers. Everything is still push button, simple and easy. One of the other things, you know, along with the MORryde steps, that's a significant shift in this product specifically, is the new 0 degree functionality that is now standard on anything that says Cougar, trailer, fifth wheel, otherwise. How did they do it? Well, starting at the top and working my way down so I don't lose track of anything, they added heat reflective layering. It's always been in the slide out, but they added it into the roof, around, down the nose cap, under the gooseneck, and in the underbelly to improve both heating and cooling efficiency. So kind of by passive default, if you improve something's cold camp rating, you're also improving its hot camp performance. So isn't that nice? Then they rerouted all the heat ducting in the underbelly. The water lines in Cougars run along the frame rails. So they rerouted the heat ducting to also run along the frame rails to provide heat diffusion from the ducting onto the water lines to help protect those. Then they added T offshoots off those heat ducts to directly force hot air straight onto the holding tanks. So it's not just an enclosed underbelly, it's insulated and forced air heated. And we've already seen the switches for the holding tank heaters. That is a big deal. They were always what's called extended season before. They've always had a big 30,000 BTU furnace. The underbelly's been enclosed. But they didn't have proven 0-degree functionality like they do now on anything that says Cougar, and that is super sweet. Now, last year, this had a folding cargo rack on the back, and I think this is one of the best floor plans to not have that, because it would always get in the way of that huge rear cargo compartment we're going to look at. But you can still bring along the bikes without voiding your warranty, because they've swapped it out for a standard 2-inch receiver hitch on the back, perfect for little bike racks. Isn't that nice? So now Johnny and Susie, they don't have to go without their bikes, and it's just one less thing you have to wrestle with monkey up and down. LED tail and marker lights, and it's actually surprising how many big fifth wheels still, and I've been saying this for years, but still don't have LED marker lights like this does. I did also want to take a knee real quick and show you, this also has a new sewer hose caddy back here, so it's just one less thing where you have to kind of mix your black tank sewer stuff with the rest of your freshwater and lawn chair camping stuff. Those are two different things you don't want gelling like Magellan. So this is under that rear bunk area right there. You just get this huge extra storage compartment, and this is going to be great for like all the kids stuff, or extra lawn chairs or anything. I don't know, the kids can play hide and seek in there. It's big enough that maybe a husband who's in trouble could curl up in there overnight. I'm not saying I might need to do that one of these days. I'm just saying that sometimes I can rack up a lot of points with the missus pretty quickly. I bet that comes as no surprise to you, however. Outside kitchenette here, below the bunk area, with the just screaming hot Capital grill, and it's a real grill, not a 2-burner stovetop. You can actually do some real grilling on that, and with a weather-resistant galvanized telescoping little slide out right there. So since this is out further where it could be subject to a little more weather exposure on a kind of misty day, they like to give you the better thing there. Plus it's better, as hot as the Capital grill is, I like that that's metal and not wood. Dad's medicine cabinet. How you doing, girl? This is called, you can see that this says PD, because I'm going to get here pretty darn quick when I get to the destination, for bottled water, of course. Now, we don't have a sink in this miniature kitchenette. There's just not the space. What's cool is on the other side of the camper, there is a simple water docking station that does have a removable coil hose with a residential fitting end for like garden sprayer handles, stuff like that. But they include a second full outside utility shower over here. Very nice for also not just little utility stuff here, but hosing the kids off before you send them inside if they've been in the lake. The door is anti-slam, LED lights under the awning. I think, well, the awning is also remote controlled. The slides are remote controlled. So you can sit in your chair. You can do a lot of good stuff with this. Let's take a peek upstairs. There are a couple quick factors I want to point out on the roof of any Cougar. I don't know of any fifth wheel in today's market that isn't fully walkable. I'm not sure there was ever a fifth wheel built that really wasn't. Maybe one of those old Skyline Koalas wasn't. I'm not sure, because God, those things were lightweight. They had to be lacking in a lot of structure. But I want to point out the heavy-handed nature of the Cougar sealant team. They don't mess around. They load this thing up with sealant. Specifically, the one that is really important to me is the front and rear termination strip. They go bananas on that thing to make sure there's just no chance it's ever going to bleed through and have a leak. But not only is this a insulated walkable roof structure here, extra insulated as it were, because all are to an extent, but we also have walkable slide boxing on all Cougar models, trailers, fifth wheels, otherwise. And the consistency between the products is something Cougar had been lacking previously. Like that Cougar travel trailer there, the smaller Cougar fifth wheels, the big Cougar fifth wheels like we're looking at, they were all a little different in how they were kind of put together and the things that you could say about them. And he said, you know what? We're just going to simplify the narrative. We're going to do everything to the level of big Cougar, whether it's medium Cougar or small Cougar trailers. Doesn't matter. They go all the way consistently every time now. And it wasn't like there was a huge shift between it. It's just they did a couple specific critical things to get them there. And as you can see, we're no strangers to different products here. And I've always believed that every RV is the best in a different reason. I've kind of shared some of the things I really appreciate and enjoy on this brand. If there's other things you'd like to know about, certainly give us a call. If you see another brand here anytime around our website you'd like to know more about, well, give us a call on that, guys. I'm not the only one here that knows my way around an RV. I just might be the only guy you've had a chance to meet so far. Give our team a call, give us the opportunity, and you will see why we are the most successful independent RV dealer in the entire state of Michigan. So with that, take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.